r/ask Reddit. What knowledge might save your life one day? If you've been buried alive in a standard coffin, stay calm. If you are alive, you haven't been buried that long. Also, the dirt above you hasn't set yet. Most coffins are not built to last once buried, and as a result have weak siding. So here is what you do. Pull your shirt over your head. You don't want to be swallowing dirt. Position yourself so you are as sideways in the coffin as possible with hands and feet pushing on the long sides. Push. You should be able to blow out one of the walls. Start crawling up. Do not panic. You may not find a grip immediately. Keep going until you make it out. If you have to get through a locked door, don't charge into it with your shoulder. Instead, kick it straight on next to the door knob or handle. This has a much better chance of breaking the lock. Edit. It's better to mule kick the door next to the lock instead of facing forward while you kick. It's safer for you, and you can apply more and better force that way. Always leave your itinerary with someone. If you meet strangers, that is, potential bad people, on the road, always let them know that you are in touch with friends and family and that they know exactly where you are. You become less attractive as a victim. Edit. Always let strangers know that you have a destination and are expected at a particular time too. If you call 911, always say where the problem is first, followed by the problem. If you happen to get cut off before you can say what the problem is, at least the dispatcher has a location to send an officer to check it out and advise if more police or fire is needed. Example, operator 911, where is your emergency? You, help, I'm being stabbed. Disconnect. Versus operator 911, where is your emergency? You, 742 Evergreen Terrace. Help, I am. Disconnect. Location. 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 When you're staying in a hotel, take the time to read the diagram on the back of the door showing where the emergency escape route is. Take your room key with you if you leave the room in an emergency, as you might need to get back. Have your shoes on when the flight you're on is landing or taking off. Statistically, that's when bad stuff happens, and you don't want to be in bare feet for an evacuation. If someone is choking, ask them, are you choking? Bear with me. If they can answer you, they are not choking. If they can't, you can go straight to the Heimlich maneuver. If you are accidentally poisoned with methanol, ethanol is an effective treatment as medical help isn't immediately available. Don't get the drinks from the same place that poisoned you in the first place. If your car is going underwater, an electronic roll down button will work regardless of the water pressure outside the car, but a manual handle is much more difficult. You also won't be able to open the door. It's better to have something in the glove box, like an ice scraper, to break the glass with. Mythbusters did a whole thing on it. That episode saved a woman's life. She wrote to them to tell them, and Adam Savage cried knowing he'd helped to save a life. If you have what looks like a small pimple or a spider bite and you see a red line streaking away from that area towards your body, go to an emergency room. You likely have a staph or strep infection that is spreading through your lymphatic system or bloodstream, and your body can go septic at any moment. Sepsis lethality is from 40 to 60%. This happened to me earlier this year, and I only knew how serious it was because of a post I read on Reddit years back. There is no such thing as a fair fight. This is something my dad drilled into my head for years. You never know what the other person's mentality is going to be. If you get in a fight, they may be hell-bent on killing you. They may have a hidden weapon you don't know about. Do anything and everything you can to survive. Kick out knees, gouge eyes, knee the groin, whatever it takes to know you'll survive. Firefighter training. If there is a fire, crawl out of the building. Do not stand up to run. 1 or 2 breaths of smoke are enough to do major damage and require hospitalization. If you get out at all, it may be warm where you are crawling, but standing up can cook your skin and your lungs. The smoke at eye level can be more than 600 degrees Celsius, 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. If you can't see and don't know the room layout, crawl with your feet and legs in front of you, sliding on your ass. Do not crawl face first, or you may take a dive down a staircase in the confusion. If you're taking blood thinners, you should know they increase the risks of bleeding. You should watch out for signs of bleeding like pallor, breathlessness, multiple rash, bleeding gums or nose, red urine. If you accidentally cut yourself, take great care of the cut. You could bleed out if you don't. At the pharmacy today a regular patient died because she got a cut on her leg while gardening, but didn't think much about it. But because she was on blood thinners, she bled out during the night. A friend who grew up in a rough neighborhood taught me this one. If you're on a bus and robbers get on, you have a chance of not having your stuff taken or being bothered at all if you pretend to be asleep. For all that it's scary for the passengers when one or two fuckers with guns climb on a bus, it's also stressful as fuck for the robbers. They have to keep their eyes on a lot of people at once to prevent anyone from calling the police, prevent the driver from signaling distress somehow, and prevent all passengers from reacting in dangerous ways. If you're asleep, that's one person less for a robber to manage, so they may not bother to wake you up and have another wildcard to deal with just to get your phone and wallet. If you fall into an ice cold river or lake in the winter and got back out, immediately take all your clothes off. The wet and ice cold clothes will be just as cold as if you're still in the river and will freeze, and you will most likely die from hypothermia very soon. Run around and move your body to keep your blood flow up and try to get shelter and warmth as soon as possible. If someone is getting electrocuted, especially with high voltage, and you see they can't let it go, don't touch or grab them. If they have long hair, then you can pull them away by that. If you have some non-conductor thing that you can push them, like wooden or plastic things, wooden chair, a broom, wooden paper bin, etc., then push them away. You might have to push or pull surprisingly hard as their muscles are a full-on lock. Or if you have no other choice, then you should do a running kick or running tackle to the side. Yes, you might break some of their bones, but it's still better than getting electrocuted to death. When diving, make sure the water is at least as high as your breasts or neck. If you're new to diving, I'd recommend making sure you can't touch the floor at all. Be careful. Any rock can kill you at the right speed angle. And always have your head between your arms. Don't put your head out until you start rising. I'm from Texas, so I'm familiar with Texan terrain. I know how to eat a barrel cactus. Take the cactus out of the sand, cut both ends. Cut the cactus lengthwise just enough to open up the skin from the edible part, and then roll the edible part out of the skin, like opening a Jolly Rancher. You can also burn the spines off, and make the process easier. Another thing I know is identifying plants, though I'm not too good at it. I can easily identify yucca, yucca, isote, esote, prickly pear, and chili pequin. Last thing I know is making a fishing cane from scratch. Beat a leaf from an isote until its fibers spread apart. Spread its fibers out. Keep beating it until you can notice the fibers and be able to pick them out. Then braid the fibers together in strands of 3. Before you are out of fiber to braid, join another 3 strands and continue it until satisfied with the length. Find a nice big stick and an agave spine. Sharpen the spine until both ends are sharp and tie it to the end of your line. Tie your line to your stick and voila. It ain't pretty, but it does the job. In a self-defense situation, where you have to fear for your life, everything is allowed. In such a situation, ordinary household items become weapons. You can seriously hurt someone with a pencil or other pointy objects or even kill them. If you can bite them, do so. Everything heavy can also be a weapon, like a stone or a paperweight. Be aware that flash blinding someone with a flashlight can also be very effective at night, and it's best to make as much noise as possible. Never use a tourniquet unless your limb is hanging off and trained to use one safely. You're more likely to survive and keep your limbs if you apply firm, direct pressure to the wound. The water upstream is safer to drink than it is downstream, but always boil it first if possible. SOS in Morse code is ... and can be used with sound and light. If trapped in a car and you can't get out the doors, strike the corner of a window with anything pointy such as a key or the prongs on your headrest. Glass is much weaker in the corners than the center. In the event that you are being choked, pull back the assailant's ring and pinky finger. They are too weak to resist and will snap with applied force. If you ever find yourself in the position to be headlocked, put your chin down before the lock is complete. It's uncomfortable, but you can continue to breathe.